Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to my Kia EV6. If you guys have been following along, you'll know we've been doing a long-term coating test on this vehicle, on the paint, on the glass, and on the wheels. And in today's video, I want to do an update on our wheel coating test, where we are pitting 3 different dedicated wheel coatings versus a paint coating to see which one actually holds up the best. In today's video, we're going to go through, see how these things are actually looking. We're going to do a full cleanup on them and give some feelings after 6 months of having these on the vehicle to hopefully tell this long-term story on how these wheel coatings are working. Welcome back to the channel. Let's jump into it. Well, thank you all for being here today, and hopefully you'll gain some valuable insight into this, and hopefully you guys will enjoy this, because this series has been genuinely the most fun piece of content I've created. And in fact, I think one of the most interesting, especially on the paint, putting 10 different ceramic coatings on the paint and seeing how they compare. And man, we're only 6 months into this and there is just like huge differences between them. But I have kind of neglected the wheels in terms of updating you guys, and I wanted to give you guys an update today. So I want to give you a refresher course on the coatings we actually have on this car, talk a little bit about dedicated wheel coatings and some of the marketing behind it and why I don't believe it, and then we'll talk about our testing procedures here today. So up front here, we've got Armor Detail Supply's wheel coating, and I was really impressed with this when I installed it. A lot of wheel coatings that I've used in the past, really annoying to install. This goes on very well, a little goes a long way, and I think has been actually pretty darn impressive. Back here, we have one of those really annoying coatings to install, and that is actually CarPro Deluxe. Now, this is a dedicated wheel coating with some bold marketing claims in terms of its high tip resistance. Again, we'll talk about that here in a second. On the driver's side rear wheel, we have the G-Technic wheel armor, which in my impression, starting off and throughout the 6 months, I have been underwhelmed by, which is also interesting because in our paint coating test, I have also been underwhelmed by the G-Technic coatings. Now, for our paint coating and our upfront driver's side wheel, we actually have Clean by PM the Organizer's 8-year coating, and I have been really impressed by this coating on its performance on paint, on glass, on wheels, on my personal vehicles, as well as on trim and everything in between. It is such a versatile coating, and this brings me into the point of I have been pushing you guys this year to really push beyond marketing claims and think about what you guys are actually using, and that's why I want to talk about dedicated wheel coatings. Now, it does make sense if you do sit down and think about it that the environment of which our wheels are in is very harsh. Number one, yes, you do have more heat, so having more high temp resistance could be part of a factor in terms of longevity, but it's not the only factor. Wheels, of course, also see brake dust. They also see dirt. They see grime. They see mag chloride. It's a very harsh environment. So having a strong coating on there is really important. Now, again, the whole point behind a ceramic coating on your wheels and like on your paint is going to keep the car cleaner for longer. When you do go to clean it up, it's going to be a lot easier to clean, and importantly, not going to have to use such harsh chemicals on it. The thing that I don't believe in when it comes to wheel coatings is this super high temp resistance, and does that actually matter? Now, the reality is something like CarPro Deluxe backs here claims that this has a heat resistance to 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Boys and girls, I can tell you for a fact, if your wheels are getting to 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit, you got bigger problems. Your tires are going to be molten lava. The paint on your wheels is going to completely fail. But good news, your ceramic coating is still going to be there. The reality is, even if you're tracking your car, your wheels are never going to see those kind of temps. Now, your actual rotor may actually see that. That's a little bit different of a story. If you have 1,000 degrees on your actual wheels, holy smokes, you got some problems. And that is something I have traditionally seen when using wheel coatings, is that they're a little bit more annoying to install. They're a little thicker, and of course, they are more expensive because they're for this super specific area. And I personally have not seen that they actually last any longer than a paint coating. And that brings me back to another point here in cleaning wheels. Now, this is a big topic, and personally, I think a lot of you are doing this very wrong on your car. In fact, when you go through ceramic coat your vehicle, and then every single time you wash your vehicle, and specifically clean your wheels, use a super high alkaline wheel cleaner or a very acidic wheel cleaner to make it easier to clean them, when in fact the reality is you should be using a pH neutral shampoo and or a pH neutral iron removing wheel cleaner, and that's it. Now, pH does not tell the whole story in terms of the cleaning power overall and overall strength, but it does give us a good idea. And the reality is, I see a lot of people put on a wheel coating 6, 9, 12 months later, that coating has completely failed, not because the coating is actually bad, because you are using just far too harsh of a wheel cleaner every single time you wash your car. So in this test, I have not been doing that specifically. I want to maintain these and see how they'll last long term by just using a pH neutral shampoo, occasionally using an all-purpose cleaner to get some different chemicals in there, and using a pH neutral iron removing wheel cleaner. So what I want to do in today's video is a couple of things. I want to look at how these wheels are looking as the car sits. It's been raining a little bit here. It's been super hot. I've got some water spots down the side of this car. Stay tuned for a paint coating update coming up in some upcoming videos. So I want to see how these are looking compared to each other, seeing the self-cleaning characteristics that these might have between any of them. We'll rinse them off, dry them without touching them to see if that coating is doing any sort of cleaning itself. Then of course we'll come back in, actually clean them, give some opinions on the hydrophobics, how they feel, the slickness overall, and that'll be our update. So let's dive into this. I think you guys will be really interested. Before we get into rinsing these off, drying to see the self-cleaning characteristics, let's just take a look at how dirty the wheels are currently. So looking at Armor Detail Supply here, can still see some good gloss retention here, but definitely dirty wheels. What I do like to see in the barrel is that you can definitely tell that coating is rejecting quite a bit of that water with those tight water beads. That is one negative to having ceramic coatings, is they can cause a little bit more water spotting because of that contact angle, the sun baking them on there. So that is something to consider. But I will tell you, the Armor Detail Supply wheels look a whole heck of a lot cleaner than the C-Quartz Deluxe back here, CarPro Deluxe. You can just see how dirty the barrels are, and quite a bit flatter, I must say. You can see quite a bit more dirt and grime on these. Pretty interesting. Coming over here to the G-Technic wheel armor, you can really see how dull these wheels are. And especially in the barrels, yeah, they're pretty flat in there. So I'm really interested to see the water behavior, the self-cleaning characteristics of this, because I haven't been necessarily impressed with that wheel coating back there. Coming up here to our paint coating, I do have to say this in Armor Detail Supply, this might take the edge with the overall amount of dirt and grime, but you can still see quite dirty, quite glossy in certain areas, still looking pretty impressive. So let's do a touch-free rinse and dry on these and see how clean these actually get. All right, so after just a quick rinse here, first couple of things I noticed, really nice tight water beads on both the face. The barrel does have a little bit larger beads, which does tell me there's a little bit more contamination inside, but I can already tell the brightening effect on the wheel, meaning that we are releasing some dirt and grime there. So let's get this dried off and see how this looks before and after. All right, so by just doing a rinse dry off here, I can tell you the wheels look a lot better, especially the face of the wheel has a lot more brightness to it, a lot more shine to it, of course, so getting that self-cleaning characteristics. Now the barrels don't look perfect, of course, these do need a cleanup, but it's just interesting to tell the story how these compare to each other. I would say this is looking very good so far for the Armor Detail Supply wheel coating. So let's move on to CarPro Deluxe. Okay, so very interesting story back here with CarPro Deluxe. Number one, I can tell you absolutely not the same hydrophobics as the Armor Detail Supply wheel coating. And that also tells the story in the self-cleaning characteristics. You can absolutely still see in the barrels there quite a bit of dirt and grime. I will also tell you the face of the wheel subjectively does look noticeably dirtier than ADS's. So pretty interesting there. I could also tell you the barrel was quite flat, which does show me that there's a lot of contamination in there. So we'll see after we clean them if all of that comes back or if this coating is already starting to degrade a little bit. Again, saw some areas that were showing good signs of water behavior, other areas that were a little flatter than others, but pretty telling here on the barrels, of course. For G-Technic wheel armor back here, pretty interesting. So number one, you could tell when I was rinsing that off, not great water behavior whatsoever, especially on the barrels. The barrels were completely flat. Now, G-Technic does things a little bit differently. They're looking for more of a sheeting coating overall than a beading coating here. And I think this plays an interesting story because the thing I notice on the barrel here, yes, it did release more dirt and grime, but there is definitely more overall filth in there. I can just see it's a little bit more caked. Now I got to say with the initial rinse compared to Deluxe, I would say potentially a little bit better in certain areas, worse in others. Number one, I feel like the face is worse than Deluxe, but I do think the barrel is a slight above edge because you don't have that big ring of dirt and grime that we didn't release on Deluxe. But overall, pretty interesting here. I'm curious to see how this one cleans up versus the other three. Okay, so some very interesting thoughts here with pans. I gotta say, overall water behavior in terms of hydrophobics, this one definitely looks the best subjectively to me. Now I do have to say the wheel does look quite nice, although not perfect. I would put this very much in line with the Armor Detail Supply wheel coating. We are very much splitting hairs between those two here. You can still see a little residual dirt and grime in here, noticeably better, I will say, than the G-Technic, as well as especially the CarPro as well. Both the coatings up here on the front axle, Clean by Pan the organizers, and Armor Detail Supplies on the passenger side, looking very, very good. So next up here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to move back over to the Armor Detail Supply. We're going to do a full cleanup of that wheel, go through the process, showcase to you, and then I'll come do the other three off camera because it's very repetitive, and we'll do a rinse off, dry off at the end to see if there's any differences. Now for cleaning these wheels here, let's run through the chemicals we're going to use. So first off, our dedicated wheel cleaner here, Armor Detail Supplies iron removing wheel cleaner. This is a pH neutral formulation in here, but also is going to break down that brake dust, help with dirt and grime as well. We're also going to be using Armor Detail Supplies tire cleaner on the actual tires here, so the wheels will still see a little bit of alkalinity. The only reason I'm doing this right now is I'm going to do a water-based tire dressing test. I'm going to film that today. It'll be up later on this channel, pitting 4 different water-based tire dressings versus each other. But on top of that, we're also going to mix in some CarPro Reset using our foam cannon and also using it in the wheel bucket with all of our brushes. All right, first off, we're gonna come in here with our Detail Factory wheel face brush. First things first, I can tell you the wheel feels very, very nice and slick. Feels like it's gonna release all that dirt and grime. Very, very easy. And if you are wondering why I sprayed the CarPro Reset on here, it's to help it give some lubrication, especially on glossy black wheels. We do want to be mindful of that. I don't want to completely tear these up. Now I've got a soft Detail Factory brush, just getting more of those intricate areas. This is not a super deep scrub, just meant to lift away any of the dirt and grime, get it right around the valve stem, and I'll get a little bit of these trickier to get areas here. Next, I'm gonna go in, hit the barrels with my easy detail brush. These feel very, very slick. As soon as I go over it, come right back, man, you can really feel it release any of that dirt and grime, any of that film that was actually on there. Feels really, really nice. Next, I'm gonna get behind the spokes here. Yes, I did coat all behind the spokes as well. This is not gonna be something you're really gonna see, but I'm OCD, I'm a detailer. We might as well. Last step here, I'm gonna come in with my Rag Company wheel mitt, and I'm just gonna make sure we hit all of this, release any other dirt and grime. This is a little overkill, but this is my little insurance policy to make sure I get absolutely everything. All right, guys, some final thoughts here on the Armor Detail Supply wheel coating. Gotta say, overall, almost everything I want in a coating that is going on my wheels here. First off, looked really, really nice on that first initial rinse and dry. Although not perfect, got a lot of that dirt and grime off as well as brake dust. The slickness on this is fantastic. So really, really pleased with that. I can just see how much brighter the wheel is now that we got that dirt and grime released. Very simple wheel clean on here. So really, really pleased with that. So I'm gonna dry this off. Then I'm gonna do the other 3 wheels. I'll give you some impressions on those as well after I rinse them off, see how the hydrophobics came back or not. And we'll dry all of them, compare them at the end, but pretty fun test here. Absolutely loving this. All right, CarPro Deluxe back here. I gotta say, the hydrophobics came back very well. So remaining, we are still releasing all that dirt and grime. Looking at the coating here, very nice tight beads overall, especially on the face. The barrel looks great as well now that we got all that dirt and grime off. The only distinguishing factor I will say here in terms of feel over the Armor Detail Supply, noticeably quite a bit less slick. So it doesn't have that, you can really crazy tell that that coating's on here. You can absolutely still feel it. It feels very nice and smooth, but just not quite as crazy as the Armor Detail Supply. But I gotta say, after cleaning up this wheel, looking very, very good here. Pretty impressive from the CarPro. Okay, so some interesting feelings here on the G-Technic wheel armor. First things first, I gotta say, compared to the other 2 wheels I just cleaned, subjectively the worst feel. Definitely a little bit on the grabbier side. Now, the thing I'm impressed by here is how nice the wheel face looks. What's weird to me though is the barrel is noticeably less beading overall than the actual face. And again, same exact wheel coating here. Does that mean the barrel is getting a little bit weaker? What's the case here? I hope you guys can actually see this. I just noticed how much flatter the inside of the barrel is. So this is an interesting one to keep an eye on. Again, subjectively, I've been underwhelmed by this one compared to the other 3, but still think we're getting the wheel very, very clean here after going through scrubbing it. So let's move on to Clean by Pan. Just a quick note, I just did the wheel face on Clean by Pan. Look at how quickly it gets rid of the actual water, the soap solution there. That self-cleaning characteristic in this is nuts. Wow. Clean by Pan, the organizer's 8-year coating here, folks. Really impressive. This is really impressive. So I can tell you, slickness wise, 10 out of 10, feels super slick, super nice. Again, that clip I put in right before this, really crazy. Went through with my wheel face brush just like I did on the others. You could see how it just evacuated the water, the soap solution, everything on there. So the cool thing that I've noticed about this coating, yes, it does have amazing beading characteristics, but it also does evacuate that water very, very quickly. And that is something that I have been really impressed by. So this to me overall feel really, really nice. Man, impressive. Let me get this dried off. We'll check through the rest of the wheels here and I'll give you some final thoughts. All right, guys, we've got all the wheels cleaned up now. We've got them all dry and I gotta say they are all looking nice, back and sparkly. That's the cool thing about these. Did not really take much effort whatsoever to come through and get these bad boys cleaned. The interesting thing that I'm really noticing here is, you know, there's not a monumental difference like we're kind of seeing on the paint coating test, but there definitely is a difference. And I definitely have my preference so far of what I'm seeing. Definitely Armor Detail Supply's wheel coating really impressing me. Pan's coating really impressing me as well. And then on the back axle, it's really interesting that CarPro, my initial impression's really not great because of how it installs. It's just really sticky, really a honey-like, almost molasses type to actually wipe off. And it's just not a pleasant experience. And then my thoughts and feelings on the G-Technic over time just continue to get slightly worse and slightly worse. Now, subjectively, there's a thing that I have tried numerous times to get clips for you guys and try to see if you could tell a difference. There is a dullness to this wheel and only this wheel compared to the other three. And I prepped these wheels identical. If you guys go back and actually watch how I installed these, I polished, machine polished all the wheels pretty much the exact same or as close as a human can possibly get that. And there is just an overall, you can kind of see it there, especially in the spokes, almost like a grayness to it. I don't really know how to describe it, but then when you come back up here, I'll try and get the same angles. I understand the light's a little bit different. You can just see a big depth difference. And that to me is really interesting because my feelings on the G-Technic coating, I just don't love the feel of it. I don't love the water behavior of it. It just feels very dull. It feels very flat. And it's really interesting to see the differences between these. But I gotta say, you know, the wheels all clean up very nice. We're definitely seeing some differences in how the coatings keep each particular wheel cleaner than other ones. Now understand it's not 100% perfect because some wheels are getting dirtier than others. Now I do plan to soon, probably at the year mark of this test, actually take the front axle and put them at the back. For those keen viewers, you will notice I still am running winter tires in the summertime here. I got these tires for free from Nokian. They are a sponsor of Out of Spec, not this particular channel, but I've just been running these and they've been fine in the summertime. I know it's not ideal, but I also didn't want to go, you know, to a tire shop. They mess up a wheel, something happens like that as well. So I just decided I'm just going to keep rocking these on here. They've been totally fine, but I do need to change axles on this to see if that changes anything on the test. But I got to say, guys, so far, these two up front, Armor Detail Supply wheel, clean by Pan, you are splitting hairs in between them, but I'm most impressed with those. So I really hope you guys have been enjoying this series. I have absolutely been having a blast filming these videos for you guys, seeing this car on a daily basis and seeing the differences between all of the coatings. It's so fun, it's so cool, and personally, again, I still think it's the only right way to real world test ceramic coatings because they're in the same environment here. Yes, certain areas get dirtier than others. I've tried to mitigate that. If you've been watching the paint test, which will be coming out very soon after this video goes live. But anyways, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one soon. Hope you guys enjoyed it.